The massive ship called Harmony of Worlds floated in the dark space between star systems. Inside its crystal walls, hundreds of alien beings gathered in the great council chamber. Their voices echoed with fear and desperation as they spoke of the coming doom. Ambassador Zefkara stood at the center of the room. Her tall blue body shimmered with nervous energy as she addressed the crowd. Behind her, a huge screen showed images that made every alien in the room tremble. Star systems disappeared one by one, leaving only empty darkness where planets and suns once burned bright. "The void blight spreads faster each day," Zefkara said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. "It has consumed the outer worlds of the Quellian Empire. The Netherian gas clouds grow smaller as the darkness eats them. Even the deep oceans of the tidal communion cannot hide from this terror." In the front rows sat the leaders of three great civilizations. Crystal Speaker Velteth of the Quellians looked like a walking diamond, his body reflecting the chamber's soft lights. Next to him floated a shimmering cloud that contained the consciousness of High Mind Arath from the Netherians. At the far end, Ambassador Carldian of the Tidal Communion kept her gills wet with a breathing mask that covered half her blue-green face. "Our best scientists have studied this phenomenon for months," Velteth spoke, his crystal voice ringing like bells. "Our harmony-based technologies cannot stop it. The blight consumes everything we send against it." High Mind Arath's gaseous form pulsed with worry. "We tried to merge our consciousness with the blight to understand it. Those who touched it simply vanished. Not killed, not destroyed, but erased from existence itself." Coraldian's webbed fingers gripped the arms of her water-filled chair. "Our deep-sea cities bought us time, but the blight reaches even into our ocean trenches. We estimate 6 months before our homeworld falls." The chamber filled with the sounds of fear from dozens of different species. Some wailed in frequencies too high for others to hear. Others released chemical signals that spoke of panic and despair. A few simply sat in shocked silence. Zefkara raised her 4 arms for quiet. "We have tried everything our advanced civilizations can offer. Our energy shields, our matter converters, our consciousness transfers, nothing works. The blight seems to feed on order and structure. It turns our greatest achievements into nothing." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Velteth. "Should we simply wait for extinction?" A small voice spoke from the back of the chamber. "What about the Deathworlders?" The entire room fell silent. Hundreds of alien eyes turned to see who had spoken. A young Vellani aide stood trembling near the entrance, her green skin pale with embarrassment at speaking out of turn. "Excuse me?" Zefkara asked, her voice showing surprise. The aide's voice shook as she continued. "The humans from Earth, they come from a death world. Perhaps their savage nature could help us." Angry sounds erupted throughout the chamber. Several aliens stood up to protest. "Those primitives were refused entry to the Galactic Council for good reason," snapped High Mind Arath. "They come from a world so hostile that only the most violent species could survive there. Their planet is covered in poison gases, liquid water that can dissolve most beings, and temperatures that would kill civilized life forms," added Coraldian. "They fight constant wars among themselves." Velteth's crystal body flashed with dismissive light. "They have barely mastered space travel. What could such backwards creatures offer our advanced civilizations?" But Zefkara stood quietly, thinking. Her aide's words echoed in her mind. She remembered the reports about Earth that had led to humanity's rejection from the Galactic Council 5 years ago. The planet was indeed a nightmare world of extreme weather, dangerous creatures, and constant natural disasters. The beings that lived there seemed to thrive on conflict and chaos. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "that is exactly what we need." The chamber erupted in protest again, but Zefkara continued speaking over the noise. "Every solution we have tried comes from civilizations that value peace, harmony, and order. What if the void blight can only be fought by beings who understand chaos?" Far away from the alien council, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human starship Independence. The ship cut through space toward the outer colonies, carrying supplies and medical aid to human settlements on the frontier worlds. Morrison was a tall man with gray hair and calm brown eyes that had seen too many battles. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," announced Communications Officer Tom Baker from his station. "It's on the emergency frequency, but the signal is strange." "Not human," Morrison frowned. "Alien contact was rare and usually meant trouble. Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the image of Ambassador Zethkara. Her blue face looked tired and desperate as she spoke. "Human vessel, this is Ambassador Zethkara of the Villani Federation, speaking for the Galactic Council. We require immediate assistance with a crisis that threatens all life in this sector of the galaxy." The bridge crew exchanged surprised looks. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Torres, the ship's xenobiologist, stepped forward. She was a small woman with dark hair and intelligent eyes that always seemed to be studying something new. "Ma'am, with respect, the Galactic Council refused humanity's application for membership," Torres said. "They called Earth a death world, and humans too primitive for civilized contact." Zethkara's expression showed shame. "We were wrong. We now believe that humanity's unique origins may be the key to saving our civilizations. Will you hear our plea?" Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew of 47 men and women had followed him through dangerous missions before, but this was different. The aliens who had rejected humanity now needed their help. "Send the data," Morrison said. "We'll review your situation." As the alien information flowed into the ship's computers, Dr. Alex Chun studied the readings from his science station. The quantum physicist was young for his position, but his brilliant mind had earned him a place on Morrison's crew. His fingers flew over the controls as he analyzed the void blight data. "Captain, this is incredible," Chun said, his voice full of excitement and fear. "The phenomenon they're describing violates several fundamental laws of physics." "It's not just destroying matter, it's erasing the quantum foundation that reality is built on." Chief Engineer Ron Campbell looked up from his station. The big man's hands were always dirty from working on the ship's engines, but his mind understood technology better than most computers. "Their containment attempts all failed the same way," Campbell reported. "Every time they tried to impose order. On this thing it gets stronger. It's like feeding energy to a fire." Torres studied the biological data about the affected worlds. The blight doesn't just kill living beings. According to these readings, it removes them from existence so completely that there's no trace they ever lived. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. He had fought many enemies in his 20 years of military service, but nothing like this. "Recommendations? We need more information," Chun said. "But if their data is accurate, this void blight represents an extinction-level threat to all life in the galaxy, including Earth? And they think we can help because we're from a death world?" Torres asked. "Apparently so," Morrison replied. He turned back to the communication screen where Zethkara waited for his answer. Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan read the reports in her office at Fleet Command. The older woman had gray hair pulled back in a tight bun and steel blue eyes that missed nothing. She had spent her career protecting humanity from threats, both foreign and domestic, but this was beyond anything in her experience. "They rejected us 5 years ago," she said to her aide, Commander Neil Thompson. "Called us too savage for galactic civilization," Thompson nodded. "Now they want our help because we're savage. The irony is almost funny." Sullivan wasn't laughing. "What's Morrison's assessment?" "He believes the threat is real. Dr. Chun confirms that the physics data appears genuine. If the void blight continues spreading at its current rate, it will reach human space within 2 years. So we fight it here or we fight it there," Sullivan said. "At least there, we might have alien allies and better intelligence about what we're facing." She made her decision with the swift certainty that had made her an admiral. "Tell Morrison he's authorized to investigate. Send him whatever support he needs, and prepare the fleet for possible deployment." "What kind of support, Admiral?" Sullivan smiled grimly. "The kind that only Deathworlders can provide." On the Independence, Morrison received his orders and felt both pride and worry. The aliens might finally learn what humans were truly capable of, but the cost of that lesson might be higher than anyone imagined. Set course for the Quellian homeworld, he ordered. Maximum speed. As the Independence turned toward alien space, Morrison wondered if humanity was flying toward its greatest victory or its final battle. Either way, the galaxy was about to discover why Earth was called a death world, and why the beings who survived there were unlike anything the universe had ever seen. The Independence dropped out of hyperspace near the Quellian homeworld of Prismatica. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge and stared at the sight before them. Half the planet was gone, not destroyed but simply missing, replaced by a spreading darkness that hurt to look at directly. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Torres as she studied her readings. "The entire northern continent just isn't there anymore." Dr. Ching worked frantically at his science station, trying to understand what they were seeing. "The quantum signatures are all wrong. It's like reality itself has been erased in those areas." Chief Engineer Campbell's face was pale as he monitored. "The ship's systems. The engines are running rough. Whatever that darkness is, it's affecting our equipment just by being near it." A crystal ship approached them, its faceted hull reflecting the light of Prismatica's dying sun. The communication system crackled to life with a voice like breaking glass. "Human vessel, this is Crystal Speaker Velteth. We welcome your arrival, though we fear you have come too late." Morrison straightened his uniform. "We're here to help. Request permission to dock and meet with your leaders." "Permission granted. But we must warn you. Your species radiates what we call chaos energy. It is similar to the quantum signature we detect from the void blight itself." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Torres stepped forward. "Are you saying we're dangerous?" "To you, we do not know. We only know that your presence disturbs our harmonic sensors in ways we have never experienced." The Independence docked with the Quellian station, a beautiful structure made entirely of living crystal that sang with harmonic frequencies. Morrison led a small team aboard, including Torres, Chun, and Marine Sergeant Pete Rodriguez. The moment they stepped through the airlock, every Quellian in sight took several steps backward. Velteth stood before them, his diamond-like body pulsing with nervous light. "Forgive our reaction. Your chaos energy is quite overwhelming to our senses." Rodriguez, a tough soldier with scars from a dozen battles, looked confused. "Chaos energy? We're just standing here." "Your very thoughts create disturbances in local space-time," Velteth explained. "We can see the quantum fluctuations around you. They are similar to what we observe at the edges of the void blight." Dr. Chun pulled out his portable scanner and began taking readings. "Fascinating. Are you saying human brain activity affects quantum mechanics on a measurable scale?" "More than measurable. We can see it with our natural senses." Velteth gestured to other Quellians nearby. "To us, you appear surrounded by swirling clouds of chaotic energy." Torres studied the alien's reaction. "Is this why you called us Deathworlders? Because we generate this energy?" "Partly. Your world produces beings who seem to thrive in quantum chaos. Most civilized species evolve toward harmony and order. You evolved to survive constant change and conflict." They moved deeper into the station, past crowds of Quellians who watched the humans with mixtures of fear and fascination. The crystal beings communicated with each other in harmonic frequencies that made the air itself ring like bells. "Show us the affected areas," Morrison requested. Velteth led them to an observation deck that faced the planet's surface. Below them, the line between normal space and the void blight was clearly visible. It looked like reality simply ended at a sharp border, beyond which nothing existed at all. "It advances approximately 1 kilometer every hour," Velteth explained. "Our cities evacuate ahead of it, but there is nowhere left to run." Chun aimed his scanner at the boundary. "The readings are incredible. It's not just destroying matter, it's removing the quantum foam that underlies reality itself. What happens to people caught in it?" Rodriguez asked. A young Quellian named Brightsong answered, her crystal body flickering with grief. "They do not die, they simply cease to have ever existed. We cannot remember them once they are taken." Morrison felt anger building in his chest. The idea of people being erased from existence itself offended something deep in his human nature. Have you tried fighting it? Fighting? Velteth seemed confused by the concept. How does one fight a cosmic phenomenon? We are a peaceful people. We seek harmony with the universe, not conflict. Sometimes the universe doesn't want harmony. Rodriguez said grimly. Torres noticed something on her tricorder. Captain, I'm reading some unusual quantum fluctuations. They seem to be emanating from our team. Chun checked his own equipment. She's right. Our presence here is creating small disturbances in the local space-time fabric. Is that dangerous? Morrison asked. I don't think so. The disturbances are very small, but they're definitely there. Chun looked thoughtful. It's almost like our thoughts and emotions are creating tiny ripples in reality. Velteth's body suddenly flared with bright light. Your chaos energy just increased dramatically. What changed? Morrison realized what had happened. We got angry. When you told us about people being erased, we felt anger. Anger creates chaos. Energy? Torres asked. All human emotions seem to, Chun said, studying his readings. Love, fear, anger, hope, they all generate quantum disturbances. A warning alarm suddenly echoed through the station. Brightsong's voice rang with panic. The blight is moving faster. It's advancing toward the city of Harmon Deep. On the observation deck screens, they could see thousands of Quellians fleeing from the approaching darkness. The evacuation was orderly and peaceful, but Morrison could see they wouldn't make it in time. How many people are down there? He demanded. Approximately 50,000, Velteth replied sadly. Morrison turned to Rodriguez. Sergeant, can we get a shuttle down there? Sir, regulations say we shouldn't interfere in alien affairs. Screw regulations. 50,000 people are about to be erased from existence? Rodriguez grinned. I was hoping you'd say that, sir. Give me 10 minutes to prep a shuttle. As Rodriguez ran toward the docking bay, Chun noticed something on his scanner. Captain, the quantum disturbances around us just spiked again. When? When you decided to help. When you got angry at the regulations? Torres was studying her own readings. And when Rodriguez got excited about the mission? Velteth watched. The humans with growing amazement. Your chaos energy increases when you feel strongly about something? Apparently so, Morrison said. Is that important? We do not know. No other species we have encountered generates such energy. The shuttle bay doors opened and Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. Shuttle prepped and ready, Captain. Who's coming with me? Morrison started toward the shuttle, but Velteth stopped him. Please, you must understand. No one has ever survived direct exposure to the void blight. If you fly into that area, you will be erased. Maybe, Morrison said. But maybe not. We're Deathworlders, remember? We survive things that kill other people. This is not about surviving. This is about ceasing to exist. Morrison looked at the crystal being with determination that made his chaos energy spike again. Then we better make sure we exist really hard. The shuttle launched from the station and dove toward the planet's surface. Morrison piloted while Rodriguez manned the weapons, though they both knew conventional weapons would be useless against the void blight. Captain, I'm seeing something strange on sensors, Rodriguez reported. The blight's advance is slowing. Down. What? Why? Unknown, sir. But it started when we launched the shuttle. They reached the evacuation zone and began loading desperate Quellians into the shuttle's cargo bay. The crystal beings were terrified but grateful, their harmonic voices creating a strange music that filled the ship. As they worked, Morrison noticed the darkness of the void blight creeping closer. But something was wrong with it. The perfect edge that had marked its boundary was now flickering and unstable. Rodriguez, are you seeing this? Yes, sir. It's like the blight is having trouble maintaining its shape. Dr. Chun's voice crackled over the comm from the station above. Captain, the quantum readings down there are off the charts. Whatever you're doing, it's affecting the blight's structure. Morrison looked around the shuttle at the humans and aliens, working together to save lives. He felt pride, determination, and stubborn refusal to accept defeat. These were the emotions that had carried humanity through countless disasters on Earth. "Maybe that's our answer," he said quietly. "Sir?" Rodriguez asked. "Maybe the blight can't handle chaos. Maybe that's why it's affecting us differently." As they lifted off with the last load of refugees, Morrison saw something that made his heart race. For just a moment, where the shuttle had been sitting, the void blight had actually retreated a few meters. It was the first time anyone had ever seen the phenomenon give ground, and it had happened when humans refused to surrender in the face of impossible odds. The galaxy was about to learn what Deathworlders really were. The Independents arrived at Whisper Wind, the gas giant homeworld of the Netherians, 3 days after the incident at Prismatica. The massive planet swirled with colorful clouds that stretched for thousands of kilometers, but large sections now showed the familiar emptiness of the void blight. Captain Morrison studied the tactical display on the bridge. "How bad is it?" Dr. Chun looked up from his science station, his face grim. "Worse than Prismatica. The blight has consumed 60% of the planet's outer atmosphere. The Netherian consciousness ships are retreating deeper into the core, but they're running out of space." Communications Officer Tom Baker turned from his station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from High Mind Aroth. The signal is weak and getting weaker. Put it through." The main screen flickered to show a swirling cloud of gas that pulsed with faint light. When High Mind Aroth spoke, the voice seemed to come from the air itself. "Human vessel, we are grateful. You have come, though we fear it may be too late. The blight consumes our people faster each hour." Morrison leaned forward in his captain's chair. "We saw what happened at Prismatica. The blight actually retreated when my people refused to give up. We think human emotions might affect it somehow. We have heard this theory from the Quellians, but we do not understand how physical thoughts could influence a cosmic phenomenon." Lieutenant Commander Torres stepped up beside Morrison. "Maybe that's the problem. You're thinking about this in purely physical terms. What if consciousness itself is what the blight is really attacking?" The gas cloud that was High Mind Aroth pulsed with interest. "Explain this theory, human scientist." Dr. Chen moved to join the conversation. "Every civilization we've met thinks in terms of order and harmony. You seek to understand the universe and find your place in it, but humans evolve differently." "How so?" "We evolved to fight the universe. Our planet tried to kill us every day with storms, earthquakes, predators, diseases. We survived by refusing to accept that anything was impossible." Chief Engineer Campbell looked up from his station. "Captain, the blight is moving toward the planet's core. The Netherians don't have much time." Morrison made a decision that would have seemed insane to any other species. "Take us into the gas clouds. We're going to fly directly toward the blight." Baker's hands froze over his controls. "Sir, that's suicide." "Maybe, but maybe not. If human consciousness really does affect this thing, then the closer we get, the stronger the effect should be." Torres pulled up the crew roster on her tablet. "Captain, we have 473 people on this ship. If Dr. Chun is right about emotional energy affecting the blight, we're carrying a lot of firepower." "Firepower made of thoughts and feelings," Morrison said with a grim smile. "Set course for the blight boundary." As the Independents dove into Whisperwind's atmosphere, the crew could see Netherian consciousness ships fleeing deeper into the planet. These vessels looked like crystallized thoughts, transparent and beautiful, but fragile compared to human technology. "The blight is 3 kilometers ahead," Shun reported. "I'm reading massive quantum distortions." Chief Medical Officer Dr. Ryan Adams spoke up from his station. "Captain, I'm monitoring the crew's biosigns. Everyone's stress levels are spiking." "Good," Morrison said. "Fear is an emotion. Emotions create chaos energy." "Sir, you want the crew to be afraid?" "I want the crew to be human." The ship shook as they entered the outer edge of the void blight. On the screen, they could see reality simply ending a few hundred meters ahead. The darkness wasn't black, it was nothing at all, an absence so complete it made their eyes water to look at it. "Hull temperature dropping rapidly," Campbell reported. "But the engines are still running." "Impossible," came Highmind Aroth's voice over the com. No ship has ever survived entry into the Blight Zone? Torres was studying her readings with amazement. The quantum distortions around our ship are incredible. It's like we're carrying a bubble of normal spacetime with us. Dr. Adams called out from his station. Captain, the crew's brain activity is off the charts. Everyone's thinking and feeling more intensely than I've ever recorded. Morrison understood what was happening. His crew was afraid, but they were also determined, curious, and stubbornly human. They refused to accept that this was impossible, so they were making it possible through sheer force of will. Take us deeper, he ordered Dot as the Independence pushed further into the Blight. Something extraordinary happened. The void around them began to flicker and pulse, as if it were struggling to maintain its existence. Chain's voice was full of excitement and terror. Captain, the Blight is reacting to us. The quantum foam is destabilizing wherever we go. What does that mean? I think it means the Blight can't process us. We're too chaotic for it to understand. Navigator Amy Foster looked up from her station with wonder in her eyes. Sir, I'm seeing the Therian consciousness ships behind us. They're following in our wake. Morrison turned to the communication system. Highmind Aroth, are you seeing this? We see it, but we do not understand it. Your vessel creates a zone where the Blight cannot exist. How is this possible? Because we're Deathworlders, Morrison said simply. We don't know when to quit. The Independence continued deeper into the Blight, and with each kilometer more Netherian ships joined the convoy following them. The consciousness beings had never seen anything like this. A physical vessel was carving a path through a cosmic phenomenon that had destroyed everything else they sent against it. Communications officer Baker was coordinating with the alien ships. Captain, the Netherians are asking if we can reach their trapped consciousness ship Dreamweaver. It's been stuck in the Blight for 3 months. Morrison didn't hesitate. Plot a course? We're going after them. Dr. Adams looked worried. Sir, the crew's stress levels are reaching dangerous territory. How are they handling it? Better than any human should be able to. It's like they're drawing strength from the danger instead of being weakened by it. Torres smiled as she realized what was happening. That's exactly what they're doing. Humans perform better under pressure. We evolved to thrive in crisis situations. The Dreamweaver appeared on their sensors, a beautiful ship that looked like crystallized starlight. It was trapped in a pocket of pure void, completely surrounded by nothingness. How do we reach them? Foster asked. Morrison studied the tactical display. We ram through. Campbell's eyes went wide. Sir, that could destroy the ship. Or it could save 1,000 Netherian lives. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save anything. As the Independence accelerated toward the trapped ship, something amazing happened. The crew's determination and courage created such a powerful burst of chaos energy that the void, Blight, actually parted before them like water. Chun was shouting over the noise of alarms and cheering crew members. The quantum distortions are creating a tunnel through the Blight. We're not destroying it, we're forcing it to move aside. The Independence reached the Dreamweaver and extended docking tubes. Netherian consciousness beings flowed aboard the human ship, their gaseous forms shimmering with gratitude and amazement. Highmind Aroth's voice filled the bridge. You have done the impossible. You have rescued those we thought lost forever. We haven't done anything impossible, Morrison replied. We just did what humans do. We refused to accept that something couldn't be done. As they made their way back toward normal space, the rescued Netherians marveled at the human crew. They could sense the chaos energy radiating from every person on board, but now they understood it wasn't destructive chaos. It was creative chaos, the kind that builds new possibilities out of impossible situations. Dr. Shun was studying the data from their journey into the Blight. Captain, I think I understand what's happening. The Void Blight doesn't just destroy matter and energy. It imposes absolute order on reality. And humans naturally create disorder, Torres added. Not disorder, Morrison corrected. We create possibilities. We look at the universe and see not what is, but what could be. Highmind Aroth spoke with something like awe in the gaseous voice. Your species sees impossible situations and makes them possible through will alone. Pretty much, Morrison said. It's what we do. As they emerged from the Blight Zone with the rescued Netherians, word of their success spread throughout the galaxy. The humans had not only survived direct contact with the Void Blight, they had forced it to retreat and rescued those thought lost forever. But Morrison knew this was just the beginning. If they were going to save the galaxy, they would need more than one ship and one crew. They would need humanity's greatest weapon, the absolute refusal to accept defeat. No matter how impossible the odds, the Deathworlders were about to show the galaxy what they were really capable of. The ocean world of deep currents stretched endlessly in all directions, its blue-green waters hiding cities that went down for kilometers below the surface. But even here, in the deepest trenches of the tidal communion's homeworld, the Void Blight had found them. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the massive human carrier ship, New Horizon, as it descended through Deep Current's atmosphere. Around her, a fleet of 30 human vessels prepared for what might be the most important battle in galactic history. Status report, Sullivan commanded. Captain Neil Thompson, her second-in-command, read from his tactical display. The Blight has consumed the upper ocean layers and is working its way down. The tidal communion has evacuated their surface cities, but their deep-sea populations are trapped. Commander Sarah Blake, leader of the human fighter squadrons, studied the battle space. Ma'am, we have 200 fighters ready for deployment. But I have to ask, how do you fight something that isn't really there? Sullivan smiled grimly. The same way humans have always fought impossible enemies, Commander. We get angry and refuse to lose. On the main screen, Ambassador Coral Dian of the Tidal Communion appeared. Her blue-green skin looked pale with worry, and her gill slits fluttered with stress. Admiral Sullivan, we are grateful for your arrival, but we fear you may be too late. The Blight reaches deeper every hour. Then we better work fast, Sullivan replied. What can you tell us about the affected areas? They are death zones. Nothing that enters returns. Our deepest cities have been cut off for days. Dr. Kevin Wright, the fleet's combat psychologist, stepped forward. Admiral, based on the reports from the Independence, human emotional responses seem to create quantum disturbances that affect the Blight. If that's true, we should be able to weaponize those responses. Engineer Mia Torres, sister of Lisa Torres from the Independence, looked up from her station. I've been working on that problem. If we can amplify human emotional energy, we might be able to create weapons that actually hurt this thing. Sullivan nodded. Show me what you've got. Mia pulled up holographic displays showing strange devices that look like a cross between computers and art sculptures. I call them chaos generators. They read human brain patterns and amplify the quantum disturbances our emotions create. Will they work? Only one way to find out, ma'am. The first test came when Commander Blake led her fighter squadron toward the Blight boundary. Each pilot wore one of Mia's experimental chaos generators, devices that monitored their thoughts and feelings. Blake's voice crackled over the comm as her fighters approached the zone of nothingness. This is Red Leader. I can see the boundary ahead. It's like looking at the edge of existence itself. How are you feeling, Red Leader? Dr. Wright asked from the New Horizon. Scared, angry, and stubborn as hell, Blake replied. Standard human. Response to impossible odds. As the fighters entered the Blight Zone, something remarkable happened. The chaos generators began to glow with internal light, and the space around each fighter shimmered with visible distortions. My God, breathed Captain Thompson. Look at that. On the main screen, they could see the human fighters carving tunnels of normal space through the Void Blight. Where the pilots flew with determination and courage, reality reasserted itself. Blake's excited voice filled the bridge. Admiral, the chaos generators are working. I can actually feel my emotions being turned into some kind of energy field. Can you reach the trapped cities? Not yet, but I think we can clear a path if we work together. Dr. Wright was studying the readings from the fighters. Admiral, the effect is stronger when the pilots feel more intensely. Fear, anger, love, hope, they all generate power. Then let's give them something to feel strongly about, Sullivan said. She opened a channel to all human ships in the fleet. Attention all personnel. Down there in those ocean cities are millions of beings who will die if we fail. They're not human, but they're alive and they're counting on us. The response was immediate. Throughout the fleet, human crew members felt their emotions surge. Some thought of their families back on Earth. Others thought of the alien beings they had met and grown to respect. Many simply felt the familiar human anger at being told something was impossible. Mia's chaos. Generators throughout the fleet began to pulse with increasing power. Admiral, the amplification effect is spreading. Every human in the fleet is contributing to the energy field. On the tactical display, they could see the Void Blight beginning to retreat from the combined emotional assault of 3,000 humans who refused to accept defeat. Blake's squadron reached the first trapped city, a beautiful structure of living coral that housed 50,000 Tidal Communion citizens. Red Leader to New Horizon, I can see them down there. They're alive but scared. Can you extract them? Negative, ma'am. The city is too big to move, but I think we can create a safe zone around it. What happened next amazed even the humans. Blake's pilots began to fly in formation around the city, their emotions focused on protection and defiance. The chaos generators turned their feelings into a barrier of quantum distortion that the Void Blight could not penetrate. Coral DNS voice shook with wonder. Admiral, you are creating zones of safety inside the Blight itself. How is this possible? Because we're human, Sullivan replied simply. We specialize in making the impossible happen. More fighter squadrons joined the effort, each one creating safe zones around trapped cities. But the real breakthrough came when Marine Colonel Dan Foster led a ground assault directly into a Blight-consumed area. Foster and his Marines war. Powered armor equipped with the strongest chaos generators Mia could build. As they marched through the void, their determination and brotherhood created a moving bubble of reality. This is incredible, Foster reported over the com. The Blight can't touch us as long as we keep believing we exist. Dr. Wright was fascinated by the readings. Colonel, what are you thinking about down there? Home, Doc. Earth. My family. The fact that no cosmic force is going to erase my people from existence while I have anything to say about it. The Marines reached another trapped city and began evacuation procedures, but as they worked, something unexpected happened. The Tidal Communion citizens they were rescuing began to generate their own small quantum disturbances. Admiral, this is Foster. The aliens are starting to affect the Blight too. How? I think our emotions are contagious. When they see us refusing to give up, they start feeling the same way. Coral DNS voice confirmed this. It is true, your human determination is spreading to my people. For the first time since the Blight appeared, we feel hope instead of despair. Sullivan realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. Human emotions weren't just weapons against the Void Blight. They were inspiration for other species to find their own inner strength. All units, continue the evacuation. But remember, you're not just saving lives, you're teaching the galaxy how to fight back. As the battle continued, more and more alien beings began to show signs of emotional resistance to the Blight. The Quellians started generating their own harmonic chaos that disrupted the phenomenon. The Netherians discovered that passionate thought could overcome the Blight's mind-numbing effect, but it was the humans who led the charge, their Deathworld psychology turning cosmic despair into cosmic defiance. Nia Torres made another breakthrough. When she realized that different human emotions affected the Blight in different ways. Admiral, anger creates destructive interference that breaks down the Blight's structure. Love and hope create protective barriers. Fear and determination work together to carve safe passages. So we're not just using one weapon, we're using an entire arsenal of emotions? Exactly. Every feeling humans are capable of becomes a tool against this thing. By the end of the day, the human fleet had rescued over 2 million Tidal Communion citizens and created dozens of safe zones throughout their world. The Void Blight, for the first time since its appearance, had been forced into full retreat. Sullivan stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display show green zones of normal space spreading throughout deep currents oceans. Status report. Thompson smiled as he read the data. The Blight has withdrawn to the outer system. All major population centers are secure. Casualties? Minimal. We lost 3 fighters and had 12 Marines injured, but everyone's alive. Coral Dian appeared on the main screen, her expression filled with gratitude and amazement. Admiral Sullivan, your people have performed a miracle. You have driven back a force that we thought was unstoppable. We didn't drive it back, Sullivan corrected. We showed it something it couldn't understand or process. We showed it the human spirit. Dr. Wright looked up from his analysis. Admiral, I think we've learned something important today. The Void Blight feeds on order and despair, but it can't handle chaos and hope working together. Then we better make sure the galaxy has plenty of both, Sullivan said. As news of the victory at Dip Current spread throughout civilized space, something changed in the galaxy's understanding of humanity. The Deathworlders weren't just survivors, they were teachers, showing other species how to find strength they never knew they had, but Sullivan knew the real test was still coming. The Void Blight had a source, and sooner or later they would have to face it directly. The massive tear in spacetime near the galactic core looked like a wound in reality itself. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, surrounded by the largest human fleet ever assembled. 2,000 ships filled the void around her, each one carrying crews who had volunteered for what might be a one-way mission. Captain Morrison's Independence hung nearby, its hull scarred from battles with the Void Blight. Dr. Chun's voice crackled over the fleet communication system as he shared his final analysis. The tear is approximately 1 light-year across and growing. Our scans indicate this is where the Void Blight originated. If we can collapse it, we might be able to stop the phenomenon entirely. Sullivan studied the tactical display showing the impossible sight before them. The tear wasn't just dark, it was anti-light, a zone where photons went to die. Around its edges, reality flickered like a candle in the wind. What's our plan? She asked. Dr. Wright, now serving as the fleet's chief psychological strategist, stepped forward. Based on our previous encounters, the Blight seems to be imposing absolute order on the universe. It's trying to reduce everything to a state of perfect, unchanging nothingness. And humans naturally create chaos, added Mia Torres from her engineering station. Our emotions and thoughts generate quantum disturbances that interfere with the Blight's ordering process, Sullivan nodded. So we need to create as much chaos as possible. Not just any chaos, Morrison's voice came through the come from the Independence. We need human chaos. The kind that comes from refusing to accept the impossible. Commander Blake, now leading a wing of 500 fighters, spoke up from her cockpit. Admiral, my pilots are ready. We've all got families back home and friends throughout the galaxy. We're not letting this thing erase any of them. Sullivan felt the familiar surge of pride that came with commanding human forces. Each person in her fleet had chosen to be here, knowing they might not survive. That kind of voluntary courage was uniquely human, and it was exactly what they needed. All ships, prepare for final assault. Remember, this isn't about superior firepower or advanced technology. This is about being human when the universe tells us it's impossible. The fleet began its approach to the tier, and immediately the effects of the Void Blight made themselves known. Ships' instruments flickered and failed. Communications became difficult. Several crew members reported feeling like they were forgetting who they were, but something else happened too. As the human crews faced the cosmic threat to their existence, their emotional responses grew stronger. Fear mixed with determination. Love for their families combined with anger at the Blight's destruction. Hope battled despair and won. Dr. Chun's readings showed the effect immediately. Admiral, the chaos generators throughout the fleet are registering maximum output. The combined emotional energy of 60,000 humans is creating massive quantum disturbances. Is it working? The tier's expansion has stopped. But we need to get closer to have any real effect. Sullivan made the decision that would define humanity's place in galactic history. All ships advanced to point-blank range. We're going to fly into that thing and show it what humans are made of. As the fleet moved deeper into the blight zone, the very nature of reality began to break down around them. Space and time twisted in impossible ways. Some ships reported that their crews were aging backwards. Others found that their thoughts were becoming visible as colored lights, but the humans adapted because adaptation was what they did best. When their instruments failed, they navigated by instinct. When their computers crashed, they calculated trajectories in their heads. When reality itself became unreliable, they relied on the one thing the Void Blight couldn't touch: their absolute refusal to surrender. Captain Thompson, commanding a destroyer called the Defiant, reported what everyone in the fleet was experiencing. "Admiral, my crew is getting stronger the deeper we go. It's like the Blight is trying to erase us, but instead of disappearing, we're becoming more human." Dr. Wright understood what was happening. The Blight is forcing us to define ourselves more clearly. It's trying to reduce us to nothing, so we're responding by being as much ourselves as possible. Sergeant Rodriguez, now leading a battalion of Marines aboard the Independence, put it more simply: "This thing wants us to give up and die quietly. Too bad for it, humans don't know how to do that." The fleet reached the edge of the tier itself, where the Void Blight was at its strongest. Here, the phenomenon's true nature became clear. It wasn't just destroying things, it was imposing a vision of the universe where nothing unexpected could happen, where all possibilities were reduced to one: nothingness, but 60,000 humans had different ideas about what the universe should be. Fighter pilot Jenny Walsh flew her ship directly into the tier while thinking about her daughter's first steps. The chaos energy from her love and hope created a bubble of normal space-time around her fighter. Engineer Mike Santos kept his ship's engines running by humming the song his grandmother taught him, turning childhood memories into quantum disruption. That the Blight couldn't process. Marine Lisa Parker led an assault team into the heart of the phenomenon while carrying pictures of her friends from basic training, their faces serving as anchors to reality that the Void couldn't erase. Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out. Humans using their memories, their relationships, their dreams and fears and stubborn hopes to carve existence out of nothingness. Dr. Chun made the final breakthrough when he realized what they needed to do. "Admiral, the tier isn't just a wound in space-time. It's a question the universe is asking: what gives existence meaning? The Blight's answer is nothing. We need to give a different answer." "What answer?" "Life, love, the refusal to accept that struggle is meaningless. Everything that makes humans human." Sullivan understood. "All ships, full advance. I want every person in this fleet to think about why they exist, why their lives matter, why the universe is better with us in it than without us." The response was immediate and overwhelming. 60,000 humans began to focus not on the Void Blight, but on life itself. They thought about their families, their friends, their hopes for the future. They remembered the first time they saw a sunrise, the last time they laughed with a friend, the moment they decided to join Starfleet. The combined emotional and psychological energy of the human fleet created something the Void Blight had never encountered: a concentrated dose of the will to exist, backed by the absolute refusal to be erased. The tier began to collapse. It started slowly, reality reasserting itself at the edges where human determination was strongest. But as the Blight tried to fight back, it encountered something it couldn't understand or process: the human ability to find meaning in meaninglessness, to create hope from despair, to laugh in the face of cosmic indifference. Morrison's voice carried across the fleet as the Independence led the final charge into the tier's center. "This is for everyone who ever told us humans were too primitive for the galaxy. This is for every species that called us Deathworlders like it was an insult. This is for Earth, and for the universe that made us possible." The tier collapsed completely, taking the Void Blight with it. Where there had been nothingness, space and time returned. Where there had been despair, possibility bloomed again. In the aftermath, As the human fleet regrouped and counted their survivors, they found that not a single person had been lost. The Blight had been unable to erase anyone who was so completely, stubbornly, determinedly human. Ambassador Zethkara's message reached them first, her voice filled with wonder and gratitude. The Blight is gone throughout the galaxy. Our worlds are safe. How can we ever thank you? Admiral Sullivan's response was broadcast to every world in known space. You don't need to thank us. You just need to remember that when the universe tells you something is impossible, sometimes the right answer is to prove it wrong. 6 months later, Ambassador Lisa Torres stood before the Galactic Council in the same chamber where humanity had once been rejected. The alien representatives looked at her with expressions of awe and respect. The Galactic Council formally invites humanity to join our alliance, Zethkara announced. We have learned that Deathworlders are not savage primitives, but the universe's answer to forces that would destroy all life. Torres smiled as she accepted the invitation on behalf of Earth. We're honored to join you. Just remember, when the next impossible threat appears, you'll want some humans around to tell it that impossible is just another word for hasn't happened yet. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible, and their determination to keep existing no matter what the universe threw at them. In the end, the Deathworlders had saved the galaxy by doing what they did best, being impossibly, stubbornly, magnificently human.